Recording in progress. Marcial, good afternoon. Can you please flag the agenda? I see that we have 3 members, but I think the others can join us.
Good evening, Chairperson. Good evening, colleagues. I'll do so, Chair.
Honorable members, the agenda is in front of us. I just want to welcome the honorable members, the support staff, the honorable minister if she's here, as well as the delegation from the department. Welcome to our select committee. Honorable members, the agenda is in front of us. Can I get a mover for the adoption of the agenda? You can just shout out because I am not in the position to see hands, honorable members. Honorable members, you can shout out. I see Honorable Mochobeni and Honorable Shlangu. Can you please let us adopt the agenda? Yes.
Hi, Chair. I adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Shlangu. Is there a seconder?
Honorable Sibande, seconded.
Welcome, Honorable Sibande. Thank you for the seconding of the agenda. So, honorable members, the agenda is duly adopted. Honorable members, we are now at the point of the apologies. Marcia, can you please indicate to us what is the apology?
Thank you, Chairperson. Again, good evening, Chairperson, members, and the delegation from the department. Chairperson, I have received an apology from Ms. Adrianse. She was admitted today during the provincial week in her province. So she's been hospitalized. She has said that she'll join if she can. And then Honorable Breed is at the Lesotho border. She's going to try and join if she can. Those are the apologies, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcial. Members, the apologies is the 2 apologies. Can I get a mover for the adoption of the apologies?
I move for the adoption of the apologies, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mshlangu. A seconder.
Chairperson, I have my hand up.
I'm not sure. I indicated that I can't see the hands, but you can shout.
Okay. Okay, Chairperson. My name is Puso Kozo, the parliamentary liaison for Deputy Minister Steve Litsike. Just an apology that she's wrapping up another meeting, so she'll be here any moment from now.
Thank you very much. There's an amendment in terms of the apologies, honorable members. Can I get a seconder?
Chairperson.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Tandi Mpondo, the PLO to the minister. Yes, the minister is going to join shortly. They were wrapping up in the D20 in Beechwood. So she's on the way. She will just join within 15 minutes. That's what they indicated to me. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Honorable Sibande, you are seconding the apologies.
Yes. Apologies. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Tis, apologies. My hand is up. I didn't know if I am part of the apologies or not, but I am online. It's Member Du Plessis.
No, Honorable Du Plessis, you are not on the list of apologies. So you are here. Thank you very much and welcome. So just an indication in terms of who's going to do the opening remarks from the department.
Good evening, Chair. It's Ranji Reddy. I'm acting Director General in the department. In the absence of Minister and Deputy Minister, I would like to start the process by saying thank you for the opportunity for the department to present. We have submitted our presentation, and I think that Minister and Deputy Minister would probably want to make remarks when they do join. So maybe we could just get into the process of doing the presentation. The department has concluded its entire process, and the presentation will be made by Ms. Val Matabele, who is the Chief Director in the Department for Strategic Management. We are joined by a number of the senior managers in the department. She will be followed by a presentation on the HR. I am not seeing the Chief Director HR, so I think Val would complete that, and then it'll be followed by a presentation on the finances. It's just as a form of introduction, Chair. We have received a clean audit, and we have done fairly well on some areas, but there is a slight regression. Without going into too much details, if you would allow me, Chair, may I allow Ms. Matabela to present the report to you and the committee? Thank you so much.
Yes, DG, and we will give the minister, when they join, the chance to do the remarks. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I don't know who's presenting, who's flighting.
I will flight in a minute.
Well, your sound is very bad.
Okay, I'm right in front of my laptop. I'm gonna increase my volume. Am I sounding better?
You are still not very audible.
Yeah.
Let me increase my sound to see if it's affected by the speaker. Am I audible now?
Chairperson,
Yes,
I would like to indicate that the minister is already on the platform.
So let us give her the chance. Welcome, Honorable Minister. Over to you to give us the preliminary remarks, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, you may proceed.
I think there's she's struggling with the network, but however, Ms. Matabela can proceed in flight in the presentation. Honorable Chair.
Stay ready. Open. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm not sure whether I'm audible.
You are audible, Minister. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the Select Committee on Social Services, Deputy Minister, Honorable Steve Litsike, Honorable Members, Acting Director General Ms. Ranji Reddy, senior officials of the department, colleagues and stakeholders, Chairperson, Honorable Members, distinguished guests. It is my honor to present to you the annual report of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities for the 2024-25 financial year. This annual report reflects the department's continued efforts to advance the rights, empowerment, and inclusion of women, youth, and persons with disabilities. It also highlights our achievements, acknowledges challenges, and outlines measures taken to strengthen performance going forward. Chairperson, I'm pleased to report that the department has achieved a clean audit outcome for the second consecutive year, covering both 2023-24 and 2024-25 financial years. The Auditor General of South Africa issued an unqualified audit opinion confirming that the financial statements fairly present in all material respects the department's financial position as at 31 March 2025. The audit further confirmed compliance with the modified cash standard prescribed by the National Treasury and the Public Finance Management Act. There were no material findings on the reported performance information for programs 2, 3, and 5, and all identified misstatements were corrected without resulting in material findings. These outcomes underscore the department's firm commitment to good governance, accountability, and sound financial management. During the 2024-25 financial year, the department planned a total of 39 performance targets. Of these, 30 targets were achieved, that is 77%, and 9 targets were not achieved. This represents a regression from the previous year's performance of 88%. Chairperson and honorable members, the decline in performance is largely attributed to capacity constraints within certain functional units, delays in the filing of critical vacancies or filling of critical vacancies, and dependencies on external partners for the delivery of some initiatives. Despite these challenges, the department continued to make tangible progress in advancing gender equality, youth empowerment, and disability inclusion across all programs. To address areas of underperformance, the department has implemented corrective measures to strengthen planning, coordination, and monitoring with a view to improving performance in the 2025-26 financial year. The department continues to uphold the highest standard of financial accountability. I'm pleased to report that the department did not incur any unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, or wasteful expenditure during the period under review. This demonstrates our commitment to fiscal discipline, transparency, and value for money, supported by robust internal controls, consistent financial monitoring, and responsible utilization of public resources. Chairperson, the economic empowerment of women remains a core pillar of our mandate and a critical driver of inclusive development. In the 2024-25 financial year, the department exceeded its targeting of directing 40% of procurement spend to women-owned enterprises and achieved an outstanding 75%. This significant milestone demonstrates the department's dedication to transforming procurement patterns and ensuring that women-owned businesses have equitable access to state opportunities. We remain committed to working with government entities, the private sector, and development partners to expand access to markets, finance, and capacity-building initiatives for women entrepreneurs. During the 2024-25 financial year, the department recorded a vacancy rate of 10.7%, which adversely affected performance in certain program areas. The department is taking decisive action to accelerate the filling of critical vacancies and strengthen institutional capacity. Of the 140 approved posts, the distribution is as follows: 77 posts in administration, that is Program 1, 17 posts in Program 2, that is Advocacy and Mainstreaming for the Rights of Women, 26 posts in Program 3, Monitoring, Evaluation, Research and Coordination, and 11 posts in Program 4, which is Rights of Persons with Disabilities, 9 posts in Program 5, in Rights of Youth. This structure ensures a strong administrative foundation and adequate capacity across the department's core service delivery programs. However, I must indicate that whilst we say that we know for sure that other programs are not properly resourced, we remain committed to enhancing skills development, retaining talent, and cultivating a high-performing, responsive workforce. Chairperson and honorable members, a major milestone in the reporting year was the signing into law of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, that is Act of 2024 by President on the 24th of May 2024. The Act came into operation on the 15th of November 2024, marking a historic step in institutionalizing the national response to gender-based violence and femicide. Furthermore, the department submitted the Women's Empowerment and Gender Equality Bill And of course, this will be done for approval by Cabinet. The department will continue processing the bill in the current financial year as part of its legislative priorities aimed at strengthening gender equality in South Africa. The department will host the G20 Ministerial Dialogue. In fact, now, of course, it has already done that, but at the time of writing the report, it was that we are going to host the G20 Ministerial Dialogue on Positive Masculinity from 30 to 31 October 2025, and this has already happened. This engagement, convened under the auspices of the G20 Empowerment of Women Working Group, was held under the theme Championing Positive Masculinity, Building Caring, Inclusive and Just Societies. The dialogue provided a critical platform for promoting international cooperation and advancing a global agenda on gender equality, positive masculinity, and inclusive social transformation. Chairperson, I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the senior management team and all staff of the department for their dedication and contribution to the achievement outlined in this annual report. I further want to thank the Deputy Minister for her support, but also for doing a lot in order for us to achieve what we're presenting to you. I extend heartfelt gratitude to the Portfolio Committee for its continued support, oversight, and constructive engagement. We will remain committed to addressing areas of underperformance and ensuring that the department delivers meaningful impact for all South Africans. Chairperson and honorable members, the departments remain unwavering in its mission to advance the rights, empowerment, and inclusion of women, youth, and persons with disabilities. While we recognize areas that require improvement, particularly in program performance and human resource capacity, we continue to build on a strong foundation. This includes 2 consecutive clean audits, significant legislative achievements, and notable progress in economic empowerment. We are confident that our ongoing interventions will strengthen performance and deliver greater impact in the 2025-26 financial year. At this moment, through your permission, Chair, I will hand over to the Acting DG to present our report. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you to the Honourable Minister for the remarks. DG, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Minister. Good evening, Deputy Minister, and good evening, Chair, once again, and on the honourable members of the committee. As Minister has given...
DG, my apologies. I just forgot just to mention this one. Chairperson, at the end of October, DG Maluleke left the department and resigned, and therefore she is no longer the DG of the department. She served her notice in October. We therefore have appointed Acting DG Ranji to act until for 6 months or until we appoint the new DG, whatever will come first. I therefore present to you the Acting DG Ranji. Thank you very much. My apologies, Acting DG, for interrupting you.
Thank you. Good evening again, Minister. No, thank you so much. We actually were starting, Minister, when you came in. So without further ado, I think I'll hand over to Ms. Matabela, the Chief Director in Strategic Management, to present, and without repeating some of the issues that Minister has already raised, but she could highlight some of the areas in the slides so that we could look at performance, overarchingly the HR situation, and then we'll have the financial presentation. So I'll hand over to Ms. Matabela, please. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, good evening to you and the members of the Portfolio Committee. Good evening to my principals, the Minister and the Deputy Minister and the Acting DG and colleagues in the platform. We are presenting the annual report for the department. The department chairperson, when you look at the comparison slide, that is projected. In the previous financial year, we achieved 88% of our targets. In the year under review 24-25, we achieved 77% of the targets. There was a regression in this financial year, Chairperson. However, we have included corrective actions in our action plan internally. And in this presentation, we have included reasons for deviation. Sorry, I think my network is bad. In program 1, Chairperson, as indicated by the minister, we have 5 programs in the department. Program 1 achieved 50% of its target. Program 2, 89%. And program 3 and 4, they've achieved all their planned targets. And program 5, Rights of Youth, they have achieved 43% of the planned targets. In program 1, Chairperson, we had a target on achieving an unqualified audit opinion on predetermined objectives and compliance matters, which we have executed well, and we obtained an audit. This marries with the target that I will present in finance. And we also had 4 business continuity risk monitoring reports, which were produced. Here, Chairperson and members, we look at being forever ready in case of a disaster. If a disaster were to strike our business, we have a business continuity plan which we monitor, and we keep on improving on a quarterly basis. And we produce a report on this, the status thereof, and we've produced 4 for this financial year. The target on the payment of 100% valid invoices within 30 days was not achieved, Chair. We fell short of a little percentage because we achieved 98.88%. And we've included reasons for deviations that the 1.55%, which may be 29 invoices, were paid outside of the 30 days. And these invoices were delayed to ensure that we don't overspend on the baseline allocation of the department, as some of them were related to international travel, which happens in March, but the payment thereof comes through in the next financial year. So in preparation for this current financial year, some of those invoices had to be delayed. Some were also affected due to non-availability of managers to sign them off. The CFO has put up an audit action plan with corrective measures to ensure that we move away from having to struggle with managers not signing off invoices on time. This Chairperson, the department is working on a monthly basis to ensure that all responsibility managers sign off their invoices within 30 days. Chair, the next one is linked to the first target that I presented, is under financial management. We had to achieve an unqualified audit opinion on annual financial statements, which we did very well on it, and we obtained a clean audit. The payment, the procurement spent on entities owned by women, youth, and persons with disabilities, we had planned to have 40% procurement spent on entities owned by women. As indicated by the minister, we had an overachievement of 35%. The contracts were awarded to women-owned businesses to realize expenditure which increased the controllable. These are usually the invoices that we have contracts on, such as our ICT environment and some which are in program one. Those, when we look at contracting businesses, we prioritize WIP. The target on youth is 30%. We achieved 26.62%. And this chairperson had an underachievement of 3.38% as more youth companies, they change in the CSD due to the age of youth. But the department is always inviting companies that are youth-owned to bid for our bids, and they take a priority should they be successful. Chairperson, on the 147% procurement spend on persons with disabilities, we had an underachievement of 1.02%. The commodities which are required by the department to have a potential ownership by persons with disabilities were not regularly or continuously updated in the CSD. The department is engaging with National Treasury to make sure that government-wide we improve in the allocation of business to persons with disabilities. The vacancy rate, chairperson, we had to maintain a vacancy rate of less than 10%. Our vacancy rate at the end of the financial year was 10.7%. And this was due to the long turnaround of recruitment processes. However, as indicated by the minister, the department is currently prioritizing filling vacant positions. And we are also working towards moving to e-recruitment, which will cut the amount of time that our staff are spending in capturing applications. The next target, Chair, is for us to produce HR human resource plan reports. And this one, we had to produce 2 reports. The report was dependent on the department having an HR plan in place. Chairperson, because there was change in administration, the HR plan had to be aligned with the current strategic plan, and it remains work in progress, and it's being prioritized to be finalized in this current financial year. We have overachieved on the percentage of 5.3 representation of employees with disabilities within our department. The percentage is also calculated against the field post, and the field posts by the 31st of March were 131, with 7 of the employees with disabilities at 5.1%. That was a baseline that we had set for ourselves for 2024-25, but we have achieved 5.5%, so it's an overachievement. So the department remains very committed in making sure that we employ persons with disabilities within our department. In program 2, mainstream of rights of persons with disabilities, they have achieved 89% of their target, and 11% were not achieved. And they plan to have 4 interventions to support economic empowerment, participation, and ownership for women, youth, and persons with disabilities implemented. They have implemented all 4, and the progress report on the implementation of the strategy on economic empowerment of women was also implemented successfully. The next target is the one that they did not achieve, which was to produce a progress report on the implementation of the socio-economic empowerment index. The progress report could not be produced as the department had identified gaps in the research that was commissioned in 23-24 financial year, which could not inform the new index, and we had to redo this work and appoint University of Cape Town to work with us on the index. We do have an index in place. It was achieved at the beginning of Q2 of this financial year. They also plan to have 4 interventions to support social empowerment and participation of women, which they have implemented. In the sub-program, Social Empowerment of Women, this is the sub-program that is tasked with programs on improving lives of women. And they also look at monitor the implementation of the National Strategic Plan. We had planned to have 12 national departments monitored on the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on gender-based violence and femicide, which we achieved. And we also went to the provinces. We had monitored all the provinces were monitored on the implementation of the NSP, and we produced the report with clear recommendation with areas of improvement. We also, under this program, had planned 6 capacity building where we are training rapid response teams in provinces to get them to respond in line with the National Strategic Plan on GBV in areas that were identified as being hotspots of GBVF. So all provinces, the RTCs in provinces were trained. The department was then approached to do further 3 additional capacity building workshops in areas that were identified as hotspots in the provinces, such as Limpopo. The Limpopo provincial government had requested the department to increase the training in their province. So the department honored that request, and we then overachieved on the planned target. We also had planned to have 2 monitoring reports on implementation of the comprehensive national GBVF prevention strategy produced. We are focusing on improving on the prevention of GBV in all provinces. And this is a target that we are open to engage more with the select committee, because it has been identified that this is the pillar that our department is directly responsible for, and we prioritize also coming up with evidence-based research that will inform the type of programs that are required at community level to address and prevent GBVF. The department also convened 2 national gender missionaries with the women's sector, where we met up with stakeholders to take stock on the status of women in the country. In program 3 chairperson, we had 8 targets planned. All of those have been achieved. The research report on government priorities focusing on WIPD was produced, and we also produced 2 reports on compliance with international and regional instruments. We also, a chairperson under sub-program monitoring and evaluation, monitored 10 national departments on the implementation of the gender responsive planning, budgeting, monitoring and evaluation auditing framework. And we've also produced a monitoring report that we present to Cabinet on the status of WYPD in the country. We had also commissioned an evaluation study on the empowerment of WYPD. In international relations, the department has an international relations strategy that we are implementing, and on a quarterly basis, we produce reports that informs the international engagements and work that the department has done in that particular quarter. For the annual, we had 4 of those. In stakeholder management, we had planned to have 12 engagements conducted where we raise awareness on the right of WIPD, and the focus areas are also informed by the priorities of the department, such as financial inclusion and facilitating programs that will enable women in business to access funding for their businesses, and to also have platforms where they can trade in their businesses. For community mobilization initiatives, we had planned for where we raise awareness in the national days and take stock of what is the status of WIPD, where we are implementing these programs. In program 4, chairperson, but they also achieved 100% on the, this is the rights of persons with disabilities program. They had planned to have 1 annual progress report developed on the implementation of the white paper on the rights of persons with disability. And they also produced 1 disability inclusion analysis report on the draft annual performance plans of national government departments. Here, a chairperson will work with DPME to assess the planning of national government departments, and we also produce a report where we indicate the shortfalls and the programs that they should be including in their APPs, which are meant to benefit persons with disabilities. We also produced a research report on the impact of climate change on persons with disabilities and their inclusion in climate action, mitigation, and adaptation strategies. And we have also deposited a country report on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The sub-program mainstreaming and advocacy under the rights of persons with disabilities, they have developed 6 advocacy manuals on disabilities. These manuals are meant to educate communities on different disabilities, to make them understand the extent of the disabilities and how they should support persons with disabilities in their communities with that in understanding and information that is shared through these manuals. They also had a target on draft disability advocacy mainstreaming strategy, which was approved by the minister. This strategy will inform government and corporate sector and SOEs on the mainstreaming of rights of persons with disabilities. It aligns with the frameworks that the department has produced, which are in line with the white paper. They also convened 2 rights of persons with disabilities missionaries. In program 5, rights of youth, they have achieved 43% of the target. They had planned to have 2 SNDF-led National Youth Service Program implemented and 5 farming projects established. Chairperson will recall that in the financial year 2023-24, these targets were included in the annual performance of the department with an intention of skills development and employment creation in the 10 poorest district municipalities which the department had identified. And the intention was to work with stakeholders, provincial and municipality level to implement these programs. However, Chairperson, when we were implementing this, the challenge has always been the raising of funds, especially for the farming project and the bakery. The SNDF led program was at its initial phase when we closed the financial year 24-25. However, in this current financial year, the program is being implemented and youth are benefiting in terms of skills development. Chairperson, the bakery training centers are also linked to the farming projects, which had the same intention and strategy in terms of raising skills in training youth, women and persons with disabilities in the implementation of the running of bakeries. However, we were not fortunate when it comes to raising of funds. There are equipments that the department was able to procure in Kuse, the municipality there is running with a program. However, the plan was to have 3 training centers, which we could not fully establish. We also plan to have 4 national youth policy implementation and monitoring reports, which were achieved. We also plan to have the South African Youth Development Bill process to be tabled in cabinet. There was a delay in processing of the CAB memo. The development of this legislation takes priority in this financial year, and there is a workshop that the department has planned to commission under the leadership of the minister to engage and see how we can ensure that this bill addresses all areas that it should address. The other 2 targets were achieved, which is 4 NYDA quarterly monitoring reports were produced, and we also had 4 national youth missionaries convened. Chairperson, I will continue as indicated by the acting DG to take you through the human resource oversight reports. This on the organizational environment, Chairperson, we are taking forward the program structure that we had under the 6th administration, and what has been identified as a challenge across all programs of the department. For the 16 years, the department has remained severely under-resourced, and the structure is not aligned to the mandate that we carry. And this is a work that, under the leadership of the Minister and the DM, we are engaging National Treasury and DPSA on the resourcing of the department. Chairperson, this is an area that we hope that once we are successful, most of our problems that we are facing in terms of budgets that are not sufficient and human resource capacity will be addressed. Chairperson, the next slide talks to the history on the 2019 MOG, which meant that we had the program on persons with disabilities coming back to the department. However, Chairperson, the challenge that we are putting forward to the select committee is that when you look at our structure, the administration program may look like we have too many staff in that program, but in reality, Chairperson, the segregation of duties, especially in the finance office and the human resource office, is not achieved. And we have also suffered a high turnover rate with staff moving to other departments because of the workload that staff in Program 1 are expected to do to support the core business. So it is a matter that the minister is prioritizing. We have a total of 140 posts. 77 of those, Chairperson, are in Program 1, and the others, the minister touched on this when she was presenting, so I won't repeat that. This is the organizational structure of the department. For your information, the branches, we only have 3 branches, which is at the DDG level, which is regulation, advocacy, and mainstreaming for the rights of women, which is Program 2, Program 3, and persons with disabilities, which is Program 4. The rights of youth is at the Chief Directorate level. Our finance is at the Chief Directorate level, including our corporate management support. In the Office of the Director General, that is where you find the support, the corporate governance support, strategic management, you find communication, you also find our internal, the Chief of Executive Risk Management is done under the Chief Directorate in the Office of the DG, and a director that supports the Office of the DG directly. And then it's our ministry with the minister and deputy minister supported in line with the ministerial handbook. So this is the breakdown for your information of the posts that we have. And I will focus on the vacancies in administration. We have 10 in Program 3, monitoring, evaluation, research, and coordination. We have 3. Rights of persons with disabilities, we had 1 vacancy, and then rights of youth, we had 1. So it's a total of 15 posts that are vacant, and some are currently being filled. In the annual report, Chairperson, we are also reporting in terms of the skills certification. The lower skilled employees, we don't have level 1 to 2. The skilled, which is 3 to 5, we have them in our structure. We have a total of 11 filled and 2 is vacant. Highly skilled production is level 6 to 8. We have a total of 41 funded, 2 are vacant. And in highly skilled, which is supervision level 9 to 12, we have 43 funded vacancies, 38 are filled, and 5 are vacant. In senior management level 13 to 16, we have a total of 43 posts, 43 are funded, 37 are filled, and 6 vacant. In labor relations cases, we have at the end of the financial year 24-25, we had 1 suspension. We did not have any dismissal during the year under review. Chairperson, I request my colleague, CFO, to continue with the presentation on financial management from slide 42. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Good evening, Minister. Good evening, Deputy Minister, Chairperson of the committee, and honorable members. I'm going to give a presentation on the performance of the department for the 2024 financial year. Val, can you please move to slide 43?
I'm frozen. I don't know why it doesn't want to move. Sorry. I'm on 43.
Thank you. Thank you. In terms of the major achievements in financial management within the department achieved 3 consecutive and qualified audit opinions from the 2022-23 to 2024-25 financial years, of which at least 2 financial years there were no material misstatements in the financial statements. Therefore, both were clean audits, as the minister alluded in her opening remarks. The department successfully spent 99.1% of its final budget for the 2024-25 financial year, and we also exceeded the 40% procurement target for women-owned entities and achieved 75.08%. The irregular expenditure was maintained at 0, as well as unauthorized expenditure that was not recorded since the 2019-20 financial year. Next slide, please.
It's stuck. Therefore, I don't know why it keeps on spiking. Oh, sorry.
In terms of the challenges experienced by the department, we experienced challenges in terms of inadequate financial resources. The clean audit outcome was achieved despite inadequate financial and human resource capacity constraints in the department. Limited budget has constrained capacity building and full program implementation, while the overstretched workforce has placed additional strain on operational efficiency and service delivery. Sustaining clean audit outcomes and ensuring effective service delivery will require improved resourcing going forward. In terms of procurement spent on entities owned by youth and persons with disabilities, we achieved 26.62 and 5.98% on entities owned by youth and persons with disabilities, respectively. The challenges experienced relate to suppliers not updating their profiles on the National Treasury as a central supplier database. The target on youth-owned entities is a fluid target that changes from the time of appointment to the payment period, as we are required to report on this target based on what the department has spent. Failure to submit the relevant documents by some of the suppliers to support their disability status in terms of their entities. These are the challenges that we experienced in terms of achieving these targets. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of the implementation of the audit action plan, this could not be fully implemented. We experienced challenges in the implementation, mainly due to human resource capacity. Capacity challenges were particularly evident in the strategic management unit, which affected timely follow-up and monitoring of corrective actions. This constraint slowed progress and contributed to the delay in fully addressing audit findings raised during the 2023-24 financial year. Based on these challenges, the department managed to clear 45.45% of the 11 findings, whilst 3, which represent 27.27%, were still in progress, and further 3 of the findings were not addressed. On payment of suppliers within 30 days, there was significant improvement department in payment of invoices, with 98.45% of invoices paid within 30 days during the financial year under review. The invoices were delayed in ensuring that spending of the department is within available baseline allocation, as well as preventing potential overspending. Some of the invoices were delayed due to non-availability of managers to sign off invoices when there are competing priorities. In terms of the performance in the spending of the allocation per economic class per program 1 managed to spend 94.7% of the allocated budget, whilst program 2 spent 100%, program 3 spent 94.4%, program 4 97.2%, and lastly program 5 spent 100%. Overall, the expenditure of the department was 1,011,019 rand against a budget of 1,020,712,000, and the spending overall constitutes 99.1% of the adjusted budget. Next slide, please. The department managed to raise revenue amounting to 550,000. This is mainly revenue generated from parking fees, garnishing orders, as well as the sale of obsolete asset. And we also receive aid assistance amounting to 12,263,000, which brought the total revenue of the department to 1,033,525,000. Next slide, please. In terms of the breakdown of expenditure per economic classification, on current payments, the department experienced an underspending of 8,073,000. On transfers and subsidies, 543,000. And lastly, payments for capital asset, we had an underspending of 1,077,000. Next slide, please. In terms of the reasons for variations in expenditure on compensation of employee, there is an underspending of 8,503,000. The underspending is due to delays in filling vacant posts, largely attributed to the time-consuming process of obtaining concurrence from the Minister of Public Service and Administration as per the Directive on Control Measures. This affected the timely appointment of critical and support posts across various sub-programs. Additional delays were caused by dependencies such as unfilled HR posts that impeded job analysis processes. Furthermore, the conclusion of the 6th administration impacted the continuity of support staff in the ministry, as appointments for the 7th administration were subject to ministerial prerogative, resulting in further delays. Interdepartmental claims for seconded staff were also not finalized by the end of the financial year under review. On transfers and subsidies, the department recorded an underspending of 543,000, and the underspending was mainly due to the fluctuation in the exchange rate for the payment to the Commonwealth membership. On payments of capital asset, the 1 million underspent is due to delay in delivery of computer equipment, outstanding invoices for the procurement of cellular devices from previous slide, please. The underspending on payments for capital asset is due to the delay in delivery of computer equipment, outstanding invoices for the procurement of cellular devices from the service providers, and the reclassification of the finance leases to operating leases. No unauthorized expenditure was recorded, and as well as irregular expenditure. However, on fruitless and wasteful expenditure, there were 2 potential cases that were amounting to 451,000, and these cases by the end of the financial year, they were still under the assessment process by internal audit. Next slide, please. The department obtained a clean audit opinion, and the ARC concurred with the Auditor General of South Africa, South Africa's audit opinion, and recommended to the department to maintain the clean audit opinion. In terms of international obligatory sessions and stakeholder engagements, these were reported to the committee through the quarterly reports that were submitted and presented before the committee. On deviations and variations, these were also reported quarterly to the committee and represented as such. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much to the Honorable Minister and your team for the presentation. We really appreciate the presentation. Honorable members, we got the presentation from the presenters. Is there any comments or questions of clarity in terms of the presentation? Honorable Sibande, see your hand is up. You may proceed.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank the department for their good work, which have been proven by receiving good results for the period of 2 years following each other. But nevertheless, there are a few questions which I wanted maybe to raise. But beside that, I wanted to start by saying, Honorable Chairperson, in future you must protect us, because sometimes we are being referred to the portfolio committee. We are not a portfolio committee. We are a select committee, because by there itself, sometimes it indicates that we are not being recognized as a select committee. So that is an inner lighter note. Then, long as a corner Chairperson, I'm coming here. Chairperson, if we can be taken on board, like the issue of that issue of a labor, one person is on suspension. Then also the issue of the money, which is equal to 400 or something rents. Is anybody, maybe it's an error, administrative error, or else is anybody who has been charged for something else? What are the status of the both cases? And there is a thing which is worrying me, which they've mentioned about the issue of the segregation of duties in finance. Why is it worrying me? Because no matter they have achieved a very perfect result, but there are some concerns which were raised by the Auditor General to say that some of the challenges included the limited access to reproductive health care, And the other one is the gender-based discrimination. And the other one, last one, is the mental health care. If you can be clarified on that one. And then also, in terms of in their slides, the first slide, they spoke about empowering people with disabilities. Somewhere there, they've indicated about the advocacy and mainstreaming rights of WYPD, if they can take us on board. But they've mentioned something. Those are the things which were never been achieved, like the issue of bakery and farming. I'm a little bit concerned if they can take us on board, that what are the challenges there? Like when I was looking from the distance, some of the issues which they've raised, I know that they've told us that they are operating with the limited resources, but I think that one, it is equivalent to the vacancies which are not filled. Because if the vacancies, the issue of the vacancies can be addressed, some of the things can be easier, because a lot of people, they can have a responsibility and they will have the line where they're supposed to perform their duties and the like. I'll put it there at this moment, but nevertheless, again and again and again, to thank the department for their marvelous job which they have done. So it's up to us to support them, and it will be easier for us if we get proper information so that we can get exactly how to approach them, how to approach their challenge. But as I've indicated, the challenges which I've stated, which were raised by the part of the Auditor General. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sibande, for the questions of clarity. Honorable Machubeni, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to the Minister and Deputy Minister, Honorable members and staff. Mine, Chairperson, the issue of delay of critical vacancies, as Honorable Subande alluded on. We don't know a time frame of filling these vacancies. And also, the presenter mentioned the issue of awareness. I would love to know where these awarenesses to be conducted. And also under the GBV, I would love the department collaboration with the communities to break the silence and stigma surrounding EGPVs. And also the last one, she mentioned it delays of invoices. I don't know, but it doesn't affect e-services now to our people, these delays of invoices. So far, Chair, let me stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Machibeni, Honorable Mshlangu. Honorable Mshlangu, over to you.
Sorry, Chair, I'm struggling with my device here. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the department for the presentation. It was well received. I think it's just a matter of, for me, it's just a matter on the prevention programs. I just need some clarity on how are we assisting men as well with regards to the prevention program, because I believe in the empowering them and encouraging them on protection and prevention of abuse against women. It will do a lot of good when it comes to prevention, because we don't want to be grooming women only and not groom men. As well as for the suspension, I'll also like to get some clarity on that. What was the suspension about? How long has that individual been suspended? What's the status on it? And then on the bakeries as well, I'd also like to gain some clarity why 0 bakeries was achieved. And another question that I have a question on neurodevelopment disability. I'd like to know what is the department doing with regards to that, because we are experiencing a lot of kids or women giving birth to autistic kids. So what are we doing to encourage them and teach them more about autism? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Shlongo, from my side, I just have one question in terms of the time frame of the appointment of the DG. Because Honorable Minister and team, according to me, the department was aware that the contract of the DG was coming to an end. So in terms of the process, we would like to know what is the time frames in terms of that. So, Honorable Minister and the team, I will give over to you to respond.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me first allow the DG and the officials to respond. But of course, apologize for referring to yourselves as the portfolio committee. It was the slip of my tongue. Indeed, we are here presenting to the select committee. I apologize for the portfolio, referring to you as portfolio committee. But let me hand over to DG, and then of course I will come last.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your apology is accepted. And DG, Acting DG, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Minister, and thank you to the honourable members. Chair, before I ask the different officials, the senior managers to respond to different questions, I would like to thank the honourable members for their very supportive remarks, and to just add, some of the achievements in the 2024-2025 financial year by the various units in the department were actually issues that are not necessarily only contained within the APP targets. And I think I'd like to bring them to the attention of the select committee, just to note that there's many issues that the department has achieved that is beyond, the targets that we've mentioned. For example, the department, you would be aware that in 2025, globally, it was a 30-year anniversary of since the 4th World Conference for Women and the adoption of the Beijing Platform for Action. And the member states of the UN were asked to actually prepare for that event that took place in March this year. And so the department was involved in the 2024-25 period to actually undertake that process, and we developed the country Beijing Plus 30 report, which was taken to cabinet. And, since then we have taken it forward. We also were very successful in actually taking forward a country report on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is also adopted by Cabinet. So these are major reports of the country in terms of reporting to international bodies. I also want to just allude to the Socio-Economic Empowerment Index that was not achieved in the 24-25 financial year. However, we have now achieved that target. We have an index. We also have infographics on that index. We are at the stage where this can be launched by Minister so that there's, public awareness of that. And that now would be an annual process of updating that, which shows, the empowerment of women in about 6 different domains. And as we move forward, it would increase. So it's a very interesting index to look at, and we'd be very honored to actually present to the Select Committee if the committee is so desirable. The other achievement, as Minister mentioned, was the National Council bill, and that process is being taken forward in the 25-26 financial year. We've also been doing this on an annual basis, Chair, where we assess the draft APPs together, working together with the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, where we look at all the APPs of departments nationally and all the provinces from a women, youth and disability inclusiveness perspective. We do that annually, and we've done that in that financial year as well. But we took further the process, and we undertook an analysis of the IDPs and the DDM-1 plans from a WIPD perspective, and we do have that report. It's got really good findings that can be taken forward to actually make progress. The disability advocacy manuals are actually very good. They are products that we need to take forward and make it available to the public. They are really useful manuals, and I'm sure Minister will speak to that as well. But the disability unit, the officials that are present here will talk about how they are raising awareness. I also want to add that we are continuing to work with the National Treasury on the gender responsive budgeting rollout. And during this financial year of 24-25, it was piloted with 11 departments. And a really good thing was that when the Minister of Finance, did his budget vote in July, he also released the gender mini budget statements and it was on 5 departments. But following from that, this year they've now increased the number to 15 departments, and the same process will happen. So it's an incrementally growing program, and that's extremely good. One of the things that we had picked up was that there were challenges from those departments that were doing the gender responsive budgeting in terms of the know-how and even the understanding of gender mainstreaming. And so what we did as a department, we worked with the UN Women, and we developed a training manual or a toolkit for gender mainstreaming to enhance the process of the gender responsive budgeting. And we did workshop those departments that were in the GRB pilot study last year. We are taking that forward this year, and we are workshopping all 15 departments in the month of November to January. And then, Chair, we worked with the government of Canada, and we were able to take on their online training program for the public service called the Gender-Based Analysis Plus Training Program. And having worked with them, we've developed for the country an online training program that is now available. Currently, we have more than 2,000 officials enlisted on that, and that is a real achievement. But also to add, Chair, that we have now in this week received information from the Department of Public Service and Administration that they have called on the public service in terms of officials undertaking this training as a compulsory training. It's free, it's online, it's easily accessible. People can do it at their own time. In terms of the unmet targets, though, we are working. Having achieved much of all of this, we are working within very tight constraints of human resources and financial budgets, and the unachieved targets in program 5, which is on the one on the farming projects and the one on the bakery. Unfortunately, it's a very fiscally driven project, and we just were not in the position to have finances for that. And that challenge, unfortunately, continues into this year. But I think colleagues will speak to that. And then we are taking forward, as you've heard, the 3 pieces of legislation: the disability bill, the women's empowerment bill, and the youth development bill, through this year, so that it can be taken forward to cabinet and be gazetted, etc., for comments. So, Chair, having said that, I will ask the DDG Shoki to respond to the issues on violence. I will ask the CFO to respond to the issues raised on the finances, and the disability unit, the chief directors that are present to speak on the issues of disability. And unfortunately, the HR director is not here on the vacancies. Myself, having just taken on this position, I can indicate that these vacancies are being prioritized in this year. And currently, we have taken some steps to ensure that we increase the number of persons to assist the HR officials in capturing, in undertaking all of those processes to move the issue forward, including through us having to take on board a little bit of overtime to move the process. The first one that is going through at the moment is the position of the DDG. It is being interviewed on the 24th. That's on Monday. The chief director's process is quite advanced. A number of the senior management vacant positions are all in the process of being prepared for the various stages of the recruitment process, interviews, etc. Many of them will actually be filled by the 1st of February. And then in the terms of the DG position, I'll leave that to Minister to actually explain what is the process that she's taking forward on that one. Unfortunately, Chair, if you will allow me, we can respond to the issue on the labor issues in terms of the person on suspension, the why they were to in writing, and Minister could perhaps then speak a little bit. But the one on the status quo in terms of the 451,000 will be answered by the CFO as to what is the situation with that. I will then call on, Chair, if you allow me, I will call on DDG Shoki to start, and then she'll be followed by the chief directors from disability, and I think it's Emmanuel from the youth who will speak on the youth issues, followed by the CFO, and then we'll hand over to Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, ADG, and good evening, Chair, and good evening, Minister, and members of the Select Committee. There are 2 questions that were asked in relation to my portfolio. The first one was asked by Honorable Machabeni. How do we collaborate with the community to break the silence? One of the things that we are doing to ensure effective functioning of collaborative GBVF structures between civil society organization and government departments is through the establishment and capacity building of what we call gender-based violence and femicide rapid response teams. And these seek to strengthen community-level coordination as a response to GBVF. And as a department, I wish to indicate that we are working in partnership with COCTA, SALGA, as well as provincial offices of the premiers. And so far, we've established 49 GBVF rapid response teams. And since 2021-2022 financial year to date in all the 9 provinces. But building on this very foundation, in 2024-25 up to 25 and 26, I wish to indicate that we actually focused on the capacity building for these GBVF RRTs so that we ensure that they effectively coordinate the local interventions and they provide quality support to victims and or survivors. But in this financial year, we worked quite closely with COCTA Salga in training 8 of those rapid response teams, and that was in provinces, if I'm not mistaken, Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Free State, and Western Cape provinces. So in that way, we've also partnered with the European Union, where we identified people to serve as either I don't want to use the word consultants, but they are coming in to also assist with auditing the work that is happening on the ground, but also monitoring the work that is happening on the ground from an NSP perspective. And they also help us in terms of giving us that data when we compile reports that we often table to the forum of the South African DGs, all the clusters, which is economic, social, as well as the governance and the criminal justice one, but also to the presidents on a quarterly basis. Those reports get turned into annual reports, and now we are working on a 5-year review report, which should be launched soon during the 16 days of activism. So this is the work that is arising from the data that is being collected as well by the very rapid response team and the consultants that we have placed within those communities. And the good thing about those rapid response teams, Chairperson, is that there's political leadership as well. Most of them, they are led by even mayors and respective municipal managers. For example, Mangaung Metro and Mansupa local municipalities have actually even been allocated funding to make sure that the work of the RRTs is translated into practice at a local level. So for us, Free State, for example, is an example where it's chaired by a mayor of that respective municipality. So it does demonstrate that we are taking strides gradually in localizing the national strategic plan and making sure that civil society is working in partnership with government as well. There's another area that we call the 100-day challenge. It forms part of our ongoing efforts to accelerate the localization as well as the implementation of the NSP on GBVF. And these are short, intensive implementation interventions at a local level. The community will identify a project. For example, they might say, this street, there are no lights. What is it that we can do in 100 days? They will approach municipality and work with municipality. Within the 100 days, they will make sure that the street lighting, or within 100 days, they will make sure that there's grass cutting and all of that. Anything that probably leads to crime prevention through environmental design gets done or handled during the 100-day period as a target that they will set for themselves. These are just but some of the examples. Then when it comes to the issue of prevention programs, particularly with men, I really wish to indicate that in as much as we are not a lead department, but we work quite closely, we use and use our convening power. We work with COCTA, we work with civil society organizations in mobilizing men to deal with issues of gender-based violence and femicide. One of the key persons who is leading in these areas, in this area of work, is the King Misizulu. We've had several marches, and now we will be having a march in Gauteng on the 27th of November as a build-up or part of the 16 Days of Activism campaign. It's supported by mayors in some of the metros where there's they will be mobilizing people close by. But at the end of the day, we can see that there is leadership from most men who are in those positions, supported by the premiers as well, and some of the key ministers that have been invited, male ministers, to really take charge and take the lead in this area of work. There's been a G20 side event that focused on, in fact, two of them. One of them focused on learners in high schools. We brought learners. They all converged within the Tembisa area at a school, Kamatlama primary school. We also convened them within provinces Northwest, Limpopo and KZN. They attended virtually, where the boy children were leading the conversation on positive masculinity. And that was really progressive in terms of the conversations that we've had. And we further had another one where we met with private sector. We discussed the whole issue of gender-based violence and femicide in the form of harassment within the world of work. So that on its own was dealing with the issues of men and instilling positive masculinities and acceptable values within society. The last two ones, Chair, is that the department appointed me to serve on a structure called the National Initiation Oversight Committee, led by COPTA, which is meant at looking at men who are initiates, and when they go there, what are they being taught? When they come back, what are they being taught? We play a critical advocacy role in that structure to make sure that we insist on them addressing the issues of positive masculinity, because we've been informed that when they come out, some of them, they misbehave, and some of them do commit acts like rape in trying to test their manhood and all of that. And COCTA has taken our suggestions on board, including agreeing to be linked to civil society organizations that can partner with them to address these issues during the period of initiation as well. The last one, we do have an IMC on gender-based violence and femicide. I'm raising this, Chairperson, because in our next meeting for IMC to be held in due course, the issue of prevention is high on the agenda. We've requested key departments like Department of Basic Education, Department of Higher Health, DSD and all, to present to IMC on their existing programs, but for IMC to provide leadership and strategic direction on areas that ought to be covered to make sure that we deal with the sketch decisively. But we are also persuading Social Development Chairperson to say, redirect your resources where they are needed most. Put some kind of a quota system for your funding. If you are funding 100% overall, kindly make sure that 60% of that is redirected to prevention programs so that more of our funds are for proactive approaches than we are in terms of reaction. So those conversations are unfolding, and I hope we will make a mark even at the next IMC for their endorsement in this regard. Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, Chair. DDG, maybe you'd want to talk about the prevention summit coming up, and maybe even the Indaba on.
Okay, thank you so much. You reminding me. We have a prevention summit on gender-based violence and femicide members. Our target group is the film industry, the media, the entertainment sector. The whole idea is to partner with them to ensure that prevention is prioritized above all. We believe they play a dual role. There are those that are doing well and they are fostering positive values in society, but there are those unwittingly, their programs are such that they perpetuate violence. So on the 25th, when Minister will be launching 16 days of activism, we have activated the arts and creative sector, the script writers, the executive coordinators, you name it, those that are in the music industry that are crafting music. There'll be a lot of panelists on board. Amongst them would be your Madam Thuli Madonsela, former, public protector, just addressing the issues of rights versus your right of freedom, but your right to not to infringe other people's rights as well, just to give you an idea of what will be happening. And then on the 28th and the 29th, a process that will be led in the department by ministry. We're having a teenage pregnancy Indaba. This Indaba seeks to address issues of also statutory rape leading to teenage pregnancy, but all factors associated with teenage pregnancy, particularly from a causal point of view, from HIV and AIDS, poverty and all of that. We'll be dealing with those issues for those 2 days. That will serve as a precursor towards the development of a strategy, because the MTDP requires us to develop a strategy on teenage pregnancy, which we should be having our first draft document by end of the financial year. Come 1st April, we will have a document to reference to, and we will determine a way forward with that document. I hope I've tried at a high level, ADG, to cover the issue of prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, DDG. Let me call the Chief Director, Puti, to speak on the disability issues. Madam Puti, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, DG, and good evening to members of the Select Committee and the Chairperson and Minister and Deputy Minister. Yeah, in response to the issue of the disability manuals, I think the ADG covered me. I'll just touch on how we are reaching out to communities and creating awareness. We have a forum, or maybe what I can call a stakeholder engagement forum, which we call the National Disability Rights Machinery, which is made up of civil society organizations and both government departments. It is in that forum that we craft our yearly plan with the civil society movement. We work collaboratively with organizations, often for persons with disabilities, in implementing what we call the 365 days calendar on disability and disabilities. It's an advocacy program. And as we know the resource allocation of the department, we don't really have that much to be able to, every month of the year, be able to have like a robust maximum campaigns where we go into communities to increase awareness on various disabilities. So what we do is we work collaboratively with the organizations, often for persons with disabilities, in their advocacy programs and awareness raising initiatives, and we go with them to the respective communities and raise awareness on that. But furthermore, we also use the media to actually issue statements on a monthly basis on particular focus areas of disability. To give an example, in September, it was Deaf Awareness Month. We were able to partner with an organization and launch the Deaf Awareness campaign, and even go into programs, a silent walk program, for instance, with NEMA Foundation to maximize awareness around South African Sign Language and other accessible communication for persons with disabilities, but also raising awareness around the plight of persons with disabilities. So those are the type of programs that we collaborate with civil society organizations, often for persons with disabilities. And we use the calendar that South Africa has developed, which is the calendar that the UN also uses for each and every month, so that we align to broader government programs, and also the messaging that we distribute through different communication channels, as I indicated, the media being one of them, to raise awareness on different disabilities. Funding for advocacy is very minimal, very, very little. And if resources allow, we intend to ensure that the manuals that we have developed, we are able to even translate them into languages and make them user-friendly and go into communities with those manuals. As it is, the manuals are now having to be published online because of the limited resources that we have. But furthermore, also increasing awareness campaigns and more collaboration with the organizations, often for persons with disabilities. We work with organizations, often for persons with disabilities, because these are organizations that are experts with the various disabilities, and they are able to shed light in terms of support, assistance, and where communities can find help with dealing with matters related to the different disabilities, and even how they can provide assistance to children in their families and family members, and even caregivers on disabilities. So those are it's at a minimum, and I'm saying that because we would want to do more with more resources if allocated enough to do advocacy programs. I think the question was more on the awareness raising campaigns and what we're doing to reach out to communities. I'll pause there. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Puti. Emmanuel, if you could just speak on the issue of the bakery and farming and what are the challenges? Thank you. Emmanuel? Okay, let's move on. Okay. CFO, let me hand over.
Apologies, Acting DG. I was just struggling to unmute. Good evening to yourself. Good evening to the Honorable Chair of the Select Committee, the Honorable Minister and Honorable Deputy Minister, and the members of the Select Committee and the colleagues. I think very briefly, yes, the question was on the issue of the bakery projects, which were in the APP in the previous financial year. So as Ms. Matobela had presented, the key challenge had been the lack of funding available to implement the projects. The department was able to engage with one of the embassies in order for equipment to be made available for the training programs to be implemented, and that was successfully concluded, and the equipment was delivered. Unfortunately, in order to utilize it, there needed to be further work done in the facility which would have been sponsored by the municipality, the NDZ municipality. So unfortunately, they were not able to fulfill their part of the process, and also there was no additional funding which came despite applications to the CETAs, etc. So because of those challenges, the program itself could not be implemented. And in the new financial year, in the current financial year, the department has been able to engage through other interventions to ensure that women, youth, and persons with disabilities can get access to much more youth employment opportunities, including through the Youth Employment Indaba, Youth Investment Indaba conducted by the National Youth Development Agency, as well as the Indaba on the digital economy, which the department, under the leadership of the minister, was able to implement on 30 September. So there are other interventions which the department will continue to work on, including other partnerships that we are pursuing with other entities of state, like your airports company in South Africa, etc., which will ensure that we are able to fulfill our intentions, which we had originally with the bakery programs. So that's where we are currently, Acting DG. Over. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. CFO, please respond to the issue of segregation of duties in finances, as also speak to the issue of the 451,000, and then some of the concerns that were raised by the AG, particularly on limited access to healthcare, gender discrimination, mental health, and then the question on the delay of invoices. I think that's about here.
Thank you, ADG. Thank you, ADG. I'm going to please respond to the three questions, one relating to segregation of duties in finance, and that would also relate to SCM. Finance and SCM is two units within the departments that are highly regulated, and we are required to practice and implement segregation of duties in the work that we do on a daily basis. And with the limited human resource capacity, it becomes a huge challenge in that I'll make use of the past 2 weeks as an example, wherein majority of the officials were on study leave, and some of the processes required implementation of segregation of duties, and they were to some extent affected, but we are ensuring our utmost ability to ensure that in the work that we do, especially on payment of supplier invoices, issuing an approval of appointments of service providers, we exercise segregation of duties and also ensure approval of such processes in line with the approved financial delegations within the department. I must indicate that AG hasn't raised any finding in relation to this area, and we will continue to ensure that we are fully compliant when it comes to these issues. In terms of the delays on payment of invoices, the invoices that were paid outside 30 days are relating mainly to invoices from SITA, the State Information Technology Agency, as well as a few of those from the Minolco for the photocopier machines and services. We are cognizant of the impact of delays in payment of service providers that it has on the cash flow for suppliers, especially SMMEs. But in the population of invoices that was paid outside 30 days within the financial year under review, none of the invoices were relating to SMMEs, but the majority of the invoices were those that were affected by the budget cuts that were introduced by National Treasury during 2023, and we only received the money back during the second adjustment in May during 2024, and 15 of the invoices that were affected by the budget cuts were processed and paid in 2024 in line with the guidelines for the second adjustment budget received from a National Treasury. And on the issue of the fruitless expenditure, whether is there any official that was charged, in the presentation I indicated that the process was still under assessment by internal audit, and we haven't yet received a report from internal audit. At this stage, I cannot confirm whether is there an official that will potentially be charged, because that will be informed by the outcome of the assessment and determination process that would be conducted by internal audit. Thank you, ADG.
Thank you, CFO. Minister, we submit to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting DG. Maybe the DM might want to comment before I do. DM, if you want to.
No, thank you, Minister. Good evening, Chairperson, members of the Select Committee, officials from the department. I think a lot has been said, Minister, in terms of responses to questions that were posed to the department. But maybe the emphasis I would like to make, while members of the Select Committee have raised the issues of services, whether in relation to GBV, in relation to mental health services, sexual and reproductive health and rights, I think it's important that we do emphasize that the department, does not drive services, which predominantly sits with all other departments, whether you talk social development, basic education, Department of Health, and so forth. And ours is really driving the policy advocacy efforts and also that coordinates, the work in itself. The drive that, have been at the heart of the department's work is to ensure that we elevate, the rights and some of the thorny issues in relation to women, youth, and persons with disability. And I think we've done this work that the ADG and the team is reporting under severe constraint of the fiscal, existence in this case. And I think one or two areas that, relates to an overarching items of our priorities that still don't get to be implemented due to lack of financing, and this also comes from previous administration, for that matter. But I think members of the Select Committee really highlights fundamental issues, and I think the continued support, and appreciation of the work done by officials and the team, even in tight fiscal, it's really appreciated. And maybe the issue that we have to note, I think when the issue that was raised around delay in invoices, or even for that matter, whether we are able to appoint some suppliers, in relation to the initiatives of enterprises led by persons with disability, and so forth. And I think this is then a broader issue around how, as a country, we consistently ensure that persons with disability are trained and empowered and supported, so that their own enterprises meet the required standards, to ensure that compliance and delivery of work still remains at the heart of accountability. And I think it's quite important that we know the department's partnership and collaboration with other departments such as small business development, or even through the agency NYDA, which a chunk of, in fact, majority percentage of, department's budget is allocated to NYDA. Thus, then the contribution and the support towards vulnerable population is instead built through those processes led by NYDA and also Department of Small Business. But I think, Minister, really for me is to appreciate this moment with the Select Committee, as well as the inputs that we've received in the report presented by the team. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, DM, and thank you, Chairperson and honorable members, for the questions asked. And let me also appreciate the responses from the department led by the acting DG, as well as the DM's comments right now. Chairperson, with regards to the issue of the DG, she indeed resigned. Her contract as a DG had been extended up until December, and this was as a result that by December she was going to turn, and she will be turning 65, that is the compulsory retirement age. It's possible to make a request for a person to serve 2 more years. However, Cabinet advised to all of us that if you want to go that route, you must then bring a completely new motivation. It cannot be part of the extension or reappointment if you want to reappoint the serving DG. And therefore we could only extend from August up until December. However, she then submitted a resignation letter because she has actually found some other job, and they wanted her to start, I think, in September. However, she requested that she be allowed to serve notice in October. We tried to talk to her new employer to extend time maybe until the end of the year. However, it was not going to be possible, and therefore the DG resigned. So it's resignation, then retirement. We informed the presidency about it, and the fact that we were therefore accepting her resignation letter, and we further requested from the presidency the right to recruit, because the appointment of DGs is the responsibility of the president. However, the president can delegate that responsibility to the minister, which the president has actually done. And therefore, because we now have the delegation, will definitely going ahead with the recruitment, which will begin with the advertisement of the position. So that is where we are. Immediately after that, we had, like I'm saying, we had to write to the president to request the permission or delegation to go ahead with the recruitment. And immediately after that, then we will therefore be looking at advertising the post, etc., which we have requested the department to prepare a submission to that effect. With regards to the bakery programs and such other programs, Chairperson, we were fully aware of the fact that, one, they are not budgeted for by the department, and that we depended on the external people donating or sponsoring the projects, because we thought that they can actually empower women together with young people. We kept them on our APP, but with the understanding that they are not smart, if I to put it that way. They are not smart targets, because we are wholly dependent on other people funding them. If there are no funds, then we definitely not be able to deliver on those and therefore meet those targets. It would seem like it's taking time, and probably we therefore are considering maybe removing them from the APP to our business case. Yes, so that we don't lose. Yes, so that we don't lose them, they remain there. So that is what we will be doing. Indeed, Chairperson, also we are in the process of G20, as you are aware, or the era of G20. We were leading the Empowerment of Women Working Group. Maybe if the select committee would want us to brief them, we'll be happy to do that. We have identified some legacy projects so that the end of our tenure as South Africa leading G20 should not mean the end of what we're supposed to do, or the legacy projects post the G20 presidency of South Africa. So yes, indeed, there are some. However, maybe just to mention, Chairperson, that we could not adopt our declaration. We couldn't because we were not prepared to water down or weaken things that have already been achieved. If we were to have it adopted, we're supposed to remove concepts such as gender equality, all women and girls, inclusivity, referring to SDGs, and probably to even Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. We're supposed never to refer to those and therefore remove them and water it so down that it would not mean anything. But our fear was that we therefore can be used as a point of referral in future by the G20 countries, but any other country, to say, but in South Africa, they adopted a declaration that did not have, for instance, a word gender, that did not have, for instance, the word all women, and therefore you must just say women and children, because for them, if you say all women, then it means you are hiding something. So we opted for not adopting a declaration, but then present a chairperson's statement. We're not the only country, the only working group that did that. There are quite a number of others. However, I can only focus on ours. We're more than prepared, Chairperson, when you have time to come and make a presentation. And I believe it will be important that we brief the select committee so that the select committee will also be aware of our projects. Maybe to mention that we were supported by UK. They are already supporting us in terms of financing our gender GBVF response fund. However, they then added 18 million because the minister visited one of our police stations and was impressed, and she was the second minister to visit projects that are funded through the response fund. The first one was in Nelspruit, and then of course the second one was in Gauteng. I think it must have been Johannesburg Central Police Station. And with all of them, they were very much impressed, and therefore they came back to then pledge the 18 million to top up what they're already donating to South Africa. And what was also very impressive about it is that we are hoping to sustain. When she said that, for me, it was though at least if UK itself is saying that, then we can be happy. And then, of course, China as well, the Deputy President of all women of China, she also pledged 2.5 million towards the establishment of the NEF Center for disability inclusion. That is just what we can probably for now as highlights of our chairship. To the we can share with the select committee. However, like I say, we are more than willing to come and make a full presentation of where it all started and how we proceeded up until where we are today, and our legacy projects that we have identified, so that we probably, through the wisdom of members of the select committee, we can also be advised, but we will be more than willing to do that. I thank you again, Chairperson and honorable members, for this opportunity. I hand over to yourself. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Acting DG, and the bigger team. And thank you also to the DM for your input in terms of this report. So, Honorable Minister, I just want to commend the department for exceeding its 40% procurement target for women-owned entities, achieving 75.08% during this financial year. And we believe it will be just getting better. And the other one is in terms of the legacy reports. We really see what the department is doing in terms of the mandate. And then to the rest of the team and the DG, we really appreciate your detailed responses in terms of the questions and the comments from the honorable members. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Acting DG, and the team. You are now released.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you,
honorable
Chair.
members.
Very much for that.
Honorable members, there is just one item left on our agenda. It is the consideration and adoption of the committee minutes of the 5th of November 2025. Honorable members, we received it in advance. Can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable members, are you asleep? Honorable members, can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes that is being flight?
Honorable Sibande.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sibande. So Honorable Sibande is moving. Can I get a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Shlongu. I really appreciate you guys. So, honorable members, we are now at the end of our meeting, and thank you very much to our support staff. We really appreciate your time and effort in terms of this late meeting. And to the honorable members, I thank you very much. I know we are tired of the visits in our different provinces, but thank you for being here. I saw Honorable Kennedy was also locked in. So, honorable members, to the support staff, this meeting stands now adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening, honorable members.
Dankie, mevrouw.
Plezier, meneer Sigrande.